Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show. Compared with the Dryad, there is another type of unit that attracts his attention. That is the Piranha troop that he has not paid much attention to. Before, because Piranha had not been able to move much, he temporarily ignored this unit and only left them to garrison the territory. However, when this unit is upgraded to the 7th rank, he realized that he was wrong, and very wrong. Name, Flower of Devouring. Race, Plant. Level 7, 0/2500. Power, 820. Physical, 900. Agility, 500. Spirit, 820. Skills, Infinite Proliferation, Devour. Corrosive Thorn, Deprivation. While devouring the enemy's corpse, it will also copy one of the enemy's skills, at most one can be copied. If the enemy's level is not lower than itself, it will also gain 1 extra experience. Introduction: the King of Flowers can devour all things and deprive them of all their energy. Copy skills. And also gain experience. Is there a more outrageous skill than this? Lin You was really stunned. There are infinite possibilities for copying skills. The effect of adding 1 extra experience point for every corpse swallowed is enough to make him move. You know, the most important thing in battle is the corpse. If you are lucky, you can even swallow hundreds or thousands of corpses at a time, and if you come a few more times, won't you just rise to the 8th level? It's just an upgrade. And what makes Lin You even more happy is that after rising to the 7th rank, Piranha's agility skyrocketed to 500 points. Although it was not high in the same rank, it already possessed not weak mobility, and there was no problem in taking it out to fight. Thought here. Lin You couldn't help but look at the swallowing flower. It was found that it was replaced by thick rhizomes. Above the rhizomes, there were 3 huge flower buds connected, twisting back and forth in the air. In the mouth full of fangs, there is also a stream of corrosive liquid. I am afraid that if I bite down, I can swallow a large living person whole and turn it into thick water in an instant. The addition of 1 combat arm to his subordinates made him feel better in an instant. Then he continued to check other advanced arms that he had not seen before. Just like the armored moss he has been focusing on. Name, Armored Moss. Race, Plant. Level 7, 0/2500. Strength, 250. Physique, 250. Agility, 250. Spirit, 250. Skills, Infinite Proliferation, Symbiosis, Armor, Natural Infusion, Drain the Power of Nature, Supply the Host, and greatly increase the recovery speed of the host's power of nature. Introduction: planting one of the arms, moss that coexists with other plants, can greatly enhance the strength of the host, as well as the ability to protect and restore. The armored moss that has risen to the 7th level has not changed much, but the moss spikes on the body have become longer, harder and thicker. However, its attributes have increased from 60 points in the original 4 items to 250 points. Although this attribute is nothing in the 7th order arms, it is a huge improvement when symbiotic with other plants. And the price is just a position of arms. On top of that, it also learned a very useful new skill. Natural Infusion. After so long to understand, Lin You already knew that the so-called power of nature was almost equivalent to the magic value of plants. Every time a skill is cast, a certain amount of force of nature will be consumed. It can only be cast again after recovery, and some even have a long gap period. But the emergence of this skill has solved this problem at once. Lin You thought for a while, then let the body of the armored moss symbiotically grow on Qingting, and replaced the 6th order moss on Qingting. In this way, its body will be much safer. In a blink of an eye, Qingting's agility has increased to 325 points, and he can finally take it out. Although Qingting's main role is to guard the family, it can't help but make Lin You happy. Especially the physique attribute of Qingting, which directly breaks through the shackles of the 7th order, reaching a terrifying level of 1250, it is difficult for ordinary 7th order to hurt it. As for the remaining 7 proliferators, they were temporarily symbiotic on the ancient war tree and the ancient natural tree, which perfectly matched the new skills of the 2 ancient trees. The book chasing app recommended to me by an old book friend who I have known for 10 years, Mimi read. It's so easy to use, I rely on this reading aloud to pass the time before driving and before going to bed. You can download it here. Another very huge improvement. However, what makes Lin You happy is far more than that. Just when he retracted his gaze and was about to look at the advanced troops of the cactus warrior, the pea shooter, and the lantern grass, several reminders suddenly sounded in his mind one after another. Congratulations, you successfully squeezed into the top 100 of the Principality ranking, 6th order. Congratulations, you successfully squeezed into the top 10 of the Principality ranking, 6th order. Congratulations, you have successfully ranked first in the Principality ranking, Tier 6, and won the glory of the territory, Bright New Star. Congratulations, you have successfully entered the Kingdom ranking, Tier 6, current ranking, 4th. Lin You was stunned. Hearing these prompts, he even thought that he had heard it wrong. Stop talking about him. Even the major duchies and the lords in the kingdom who were following the list were taken aback by the sudden change in the list. The entire chat channel was silent for a while, and then exploded immediately. Fuck. What's the situation? Why did the first place on the 6th order list suddenly change? I saw it too. Even the first place Qiu Changxing was pushed down. Who is this Lin You? Why did he suddenly rush to the first place? Look at the kingdom rankings. His name rushed to 4th. Hi. The 4th in the kingdom? In exclamation, those lords who had unlocked the authority of the kingdom list clicked on the list one after another, and they found that Lin Yu's name appeared on the 4th place. First place, Manhwa, Tier 6, Undead, Sacred Light Kingdom. Second place, Fangwenlan, Tier 6, Insect Department, Saint Jiao Kingdom. Third place, Lu Chenming, Tier 6, Angel, Saint Jiao Kingdom. Fourth place, Lin You, Tier 6, Botany, Principality of the Great Wilderness. The first place in the Principality, plus the 4th place in the Kingdom. What kind of terrifying power is this? And it just popped up suddenly without warning. Even in the Kingdom channel, there are many people discussing this matter. As for those high-ranking lords, they watched the discussions on the channel with a little surprise, and did not make any representations. After all, the 6th order lord is nothing to them. But I have to say that the sensation caused by Lin You this time around Yu reading www.yuyukansha.com is still very violent. And just when everyone was speculating about Lin Yu's identity, a message suddenly appeared on the Principality channel. I remember him. He seemed to be in front of me before. There are more than 300 people on the Principalities list. More than 300 people? Is it true or false? Rush from more than 300 to the first? This is too awesome. I didn't expect that there would be such ruthless people in our great wild country. How did he do it? Could it be that 120 arms have been raised to the 7th rank at one time? Don't say it. In this blockbuster speech, some people really guessed the truth. However, instead of upgrading 120 Tier 7 units at a time, there are more than 200 Tier 7 arms. It's just an explosive increase. This is the horror of the mutation ability, combined with the proliferation ability. Watching the messages keep floating by on the chat channel. Lin You also woke up after a while, with a very rich expression. However, this situation was expected as early as when he mutated into proliferating troops, so he didn't think there were many surprises, but he didn't expect to cause such a huge sensation. At this moment, a large riot suddenly erupted in Huangsha City. I saw that in the sky above Huangsha City, a huge golden crown suddenly appeared, hanging directly above the Lord statue, and falling down with golden light. At the same time, a reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Congratulations, you have won the glory of the territory, Bright New Star. This honor can only be obtained by the first place in each list. During the existence of the Crown of Glory, the rate of increase in faith increases by 50%. Increase the speed of gaining faith. Lin You looked at the crown above Huangsha City in surprise. Unexpectedly, there is such an extra reward for the first place in the leaderboard. It is no wonder that the guy before has not been promoted to the 7th rank. I am afraid it is because of this top welfare that he has not been promoted. This is good stuff. Increase the acquisition speed by 50%, that is to say, his current faith acquisition of 4 or 5 points per day will directly increase to 6 or 7 points per day. It may seem like a small amount, but it's definitely a huge improvement. It can even make countless lords go crazy. Even if he collects enough 500 points of faith at that time, he can continue to accumulate faith without upgrading first, and then upgrade to tier 7 after the Battle of 10,000 Realms. In this way, the starting will be much higher than the average 7th order. It seems that this first place has to be occupied all the time. Lin You muttered to himself, his eyes gradually narrowed. With his current number of tier 7 arms, he is absolutely crushing among tier 6 lords in the entire Great Wilderness Principality. Recommendation: Mimi reading and chasing books is really easy to use, download it here and you can try it. Even those units with spawning copy skills are hard to match. Coupled with the blessings of several powerful royal hero arms, it is not so easy to surpass him. The only thing worth noting: those 3 people on the kingdom list. To be able to overwhelm him when he has more than 200 tier 7 arms, obviously the number of tier 7 arms is more than 120. And he also noticed, after the level of the lords came up, the troops with the title of natural disaster, such as the undead and the insects, also began to emerge, showing their strong advantages in numbers. Even a single powerful unit like the angel and demon was overwhelmed. Sure enough, there is no such thing as the worst kind of arms, it's just that the time has not come. But even so, Lin You is also confident that when all his arms have risen to the 7th rank, he will win the top of this kingdom list in one fell swoop. After thinking about it, he came to those newly advanced plants and continued to check their properties. And what he didn't know was, at this time, several cities around Huangsha City had already fallen into turmoil because of the news of the change in the list. Each lord hurriedly summoned all his subordinates to hold an emergency meeting in the lord's mansion. Lord, the people who went to inquire about the news are back. Inside the Futaba City Lord's mansion, a cultivator quickly ran in from the outside. Seeing this, Meng Qinggan, who was sitting in the conference hall, got up immediately. How is it? Is the investigation clear? Did you find anything unusual? It can be seen that Meng Qinggan was very nervous at this time, and even a little flustered, his eyes fixed on the cultivator who was in charge of spreading the news. The cultivator did not pause, and said directly, "Go back to the Lord, I have already investigated it clearly." This morning, a vision suddenly appeared in the sky above Huangsha City, and a golden crown descended. Golden crown? Is it really him? As soon as Meng Qinggan fell and sat back on the chair, his pupils vibrated violently. He thought that the name that suddenly appeared on the list might be the same name. Unexpectedly, this is all true. His neighbor was actually the ruthless man who suddenly rushed to the top of the Principality's 6th rank list. The Principality is the first. He actually squeezed into the kingdom list at the same time, reaching the terrifying level of 4th place. Even if he heard it with his own ears, Meng Qinggan felt that he was dreaming. How could such a perverted character appear in a remote place like them on the border of the Principality? He really didn't understand. But he knew what he was going to do next, and he had to do it. Thinking of this, he shuddered all over, and hurriedly looked at a 6th order old man next to him. "When you went to Huangsha City to give gifts, did the Lord of Huangsha City say to invite me to visit him?" "Yes, that's what the Lord of Huangsha City said at the time." The old man nodded in response. "Okay, hurry up and prepare another generous gift. I will go to Huangsha City in person." Lord, it is absolutely impossible. What if you are in danger when you pass by like this? The cultivators below were instantly startled and stood up from their seats. Dangerous? Is it safe for me to stay here? Mang Qingan asked rhetorically. He is very clear about the concept of being number one on the leaderboard. There must be at least a full 7th order arms. Maybe even more. Such a terrifying energy. As long as the other party is willing, it is not difficult to raise the entire Futaba city to the ground. He didn't understand why Lin Yu's strength suddenly increased so much, but his reason told him what to do next. And to have such a powerful neighbor, it is not a perfect opportunity for him. So after explaining the stakes to the subordinates, the entire Futaba city moved, and several carts of supplies were pulled in the direction of Huangsha City through carriages and mechanical arms. As for Mang Qingan himself, he personally led the team in front of the team and set off in a mighty manner. At the same time, the same thing happened outside Xianyang City on the other side. The lord of Xianyang City, Zhao Ting, took a lot of supplies and rushed to the direction of Huangsha City in person. Obviously, he had just received the news. No way, the crown of glory floating above the yellow sand city is too conspicuous. As long as you inquire a little, you can inquire about specific news. Combined with the changes in the list this morning, no matter how stupid you are, you can guess 9 times out of 10, and it's too late to flatter. It was only halfway through. An anxious cry came from outside Lin Yu's territory. Lord! The lords of Futaba City and Xianyang City asked to see you. Hearing this shout, Lin Yu, who was still making enchanting scrolls in the territory, suddenly stopped his movements. He also guessed the intention of the two. He clapped his hands and got up, and flew away from the territory with a dozen 7th order arms, and quickly rushed to the direction of Huangsha City. At this time, the outside of the city gate of Huangsha City was already full of vehicles. Taking the lead was Mang Qingan, the lord of Shuangya City, and Zhao Ting, the lord of Xianyang City. The two of them came in person, which was a bit unexpected to Lin Yu. Immediately ordered the Demon King Dragon to land outside the city gate. One turned over and landed easily, and the troops around him also came to him. The huge scene suddenly shocked the two Mang Qingan who were waiting outside the city, and hurriedly greeted them. Brother Lin Yu, you are finally here. Lord Lin Yu, we meet again. It's really a rare visitor. I didn't expect you two to come here together. Stop standing and sit in the city. Lin Yu glanced at the carriage behind them and smiled. Since it was a gift, he naturally wouldn't turn people away, and immediately asked them to make way for them. The situation that was still tense at first dissipated immediately. Then, under the Wei gang and others, the two motorcades slowly walked into the city with Lin Yu. Let my brother laugh, we happened to meet on the road, so we came together, and hoped that it would not disturb you. Brother Mang said what I wanted to say. Mang Qingan and Zhao Ting said embarrassedly, while secretly looking around. When they saw the crown of glory in the sky above Huangsha City, their pupils trembled uncontrollably. Just over an hour. Lin Yu talked with Mang Qingan in the reception hall. However, the topic of discussion is nothing more than the relationship, cooperation and trade. Lin Yu doesn't mind a few more business routes. It wasn't until halfway through noon that the two were sent off by Lin Yu to the outside of the city. Then, brother Lin Yu, we'll go back first, and we'll have a chance to get together another day. Take care of yourself. Mang Qingan and Zhao Ting brought their respective man-ready vehicles to say goodbye to Lin Yu. It's not the same as the nervous worry when it comes. At this time, they were obviously much more relaxed, and the stone stuck in their throats finally fell. Well, there are more opportunities to come over and sit down. Lin Yu stood on top of the bridge and responded to them with a smile on his face. He just looked at it briefly. Among the supplies sent by the two, there are many things that he is currently lacking. For example, magic powder, food, and various precious materials that can be used to make equipment, and herbs for making potions. Where can I find such a good neighbor? Of course, the more the better. Just come every day. Anyway, he didn't think there was too much space to pile up. Lin Yu, so you are here. I happen to be looking for you. But at this moment, a cry sounded. McGorn appeared with a few clansmen and a few carriages, and drove slowly towards the city gate. The few people who were still talking suddenly looked at the sound. Dwarf. Mang Qingan and Zhao Ting were surprised. Although they had already known through investigation that there were dwarves under Lin Yu's hands, they were still extremely shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. But what shocked them even more was what these dwarf carriages were carrying. It's all well-crafted armor and weapons. And the number is extremely exaggerated. It came to them so slowly and stopped by the roadside. What's wrong? Do you have anything to do with me? Lin You looked at McGun and asked in confusion. It's not a big deal. It's just to send you the equipment you agreed on before, and by the way, order food. Do you still have that kind of food you gave me before? My clansmen said they like it very much. Would you like to give me another 3,000 caddies? McGun didn't even look at Mang Qingan and the others, and said directly to Lin You. The food in his mouth is naturally not ordinary food, but fortified food grown outside Huangsha City. After eating this kind of food for the first time, the dwarfs fell in love with it deeply. As a result, every time he sent equipment over, he asked Lin You for it, which made him very helpless, but he had to give it. After all, the value of these equipment is much higher than any food. But Lin You didn't expect that McGann was 3,000 pounds when he opened his mouth, and he almost didn't get his back on him. 3,000 caddies, do you think it was brought by the strong wind? At most 1,000 caddies, no more. People in my city still rely on these grains to survive. 1,000 pounds, will it be a little less? McGun rubbed his hands awkwardly, completely lacking the majesty of being a dwarf king. In fact, not only his clansmen, but himself also liked this kind of food. Not only can it strengthen the body, but it can also temporarily increase the strength, and the taste is better than ordinary food. No wonder he kept thinking about it. But seeing Lin Yu's expression of love or not, he had to compromise. Okay, 1,000 jin is 1,000 jin, but you have to promise me that in the future, the output of these grains will increase, and you have to give us a little more. Don't worry, I won't give you any less when the output comes up. Lin You agreed directly, then looked at the carriage behind McGann. By the way, is your equipment the same as the previous batch? Well, according to your request, 30 sets of each of the 4th to 6th orders, and 50 sets of basic equipment, have been sent to you. Okay, let's put it here first, and I'll call someone to get it later. Lin You said lightly, he had long been accustomed to it. But I don't know, after the two people on the side heard their conversation, their hearts had already fallen into a shock. 30 sets of equipment for each of the 4th to 6th orders. And it was made by the dwarfs himself. Seeing that they couldn't help but get a little greedy. After hesitating for a while, Mang Qingan suddenly interjected and said embarrassedly, Brother Lin You, do you have any plans to sell these equipment? I can buy them at a high price. I am the same, willing to pay a high price to buy. Zhao Ting said closely. Do you want to buy it? Lin You turned his head and looked at them. It can be, but it's not my decision, you have to ask this guy. After he finished speaking, he pointed to McGann beside him. When the two saw this, their expectant eyes immediately fell on McGann. Unexpectedly, McGuinn just glanced at them, and then directly looked back, not interested. Mang Qingan and Zhao Ting's breath stagnated, they didn't expect to be rejected so simply. Looking at Lin You and seeing Lin You helplessly shrugging, they could only regret. Okay, remember to contact me if Brother Lin You plans to sell equipment in the future. You can also contact me, it doesn't matter if the price is higher. After finishing speaking, they turned around and returned to the team, and left with their respective teams. Lin You didn't care about this little episode. After chatting with Magna for a while outside the city, he called someone to bring the equipment back into the city, and by the way, loaded the agreed food on the carriage and sent it to the dwarf tribe. When Wei Gang, who was still training soldiers in the city, heard that he had new equipment, he hurried out of the city with a group of his men, almost running faster than a rabbit. The book chasing app recommended to me by an old book friend who I have known for 10 years, Mimi read. It's so easy to use. I rely on this reading aloud to pass the time before driving and before going to bed. You can download it here. After all, it was the equipment that the dwarfs built by themselves. www.lightnovel.com was better than ordinary equipment, and its value was many times higher. Among all the nearby cities, it is estimated that Huangsha City can have this treatment. He stared straight at the passers-by, envy. There were even many cultivators clamoring to join Huangsha City and serve Lin You. For those who just joined the cultivator. Naturally, it was impossible for Lin You to issue equipment and resources immediately. Instead, let Shuichang and Wei Gang observe and measure themselves, distribute them according to their contributions, and run away with equipment when they can save them. Faithfulness must be ensured in order to be nurturing. That's all. After explaining the matter, Lin You returned to the territory again, and continued to make enchanting scrolls with the magic powder he had just obtained. What Lin You didn't know was that the news that he topped the principality's 6th rank list also attracted the attention of King Jixinghe. At this time, Jixinghe was sitting on the throne of the palace, checking the list. "Dad, what are you doing to me?" Suddenly, the palace gate opened. A valiant girl in armor and a sword on her waist walked in. Jixinghe raised his head, with a long-lost gentle smile on his face. "Yunshuang, you are here, come and sit down, there is something I want to discuss with you." "Is it about the leaderboard?" The girl came to Jixinghe and sat down. The shawl's long hair fell like snow on his waist, his lips moistened like jade, his eyebrows were like slender willows, and his soft appearance complemented the cold and arrogant aura he exuded. Between the eyebrows, there are some similarities with Jixinghe. This woman is Jixinghe's daughter and the princess of the Great Wilderness Principality, Ji Yunshuang. How is it? What do you think of this list change? Jixinghe dragged his chin with one hand and looked at the list interface in front of him with deep eyes. Being able to overpower Qiu Chongxing, this person named Lin You is not easy, but what I care about most is his kingdom ranking. A trace of surprise flashed in Ji Yunshuang's clear and cold eyes. As a person who has been in the top 5 of the principality's 6th rank list for a long time, she naturally knows the rankings very well, and she also knows the horror of the kingdom's ranking, because even she was only ranked over 100 in the kingdom. It is enough to see how powerful the proud sons of other principalities are. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that all the time, the top 10 of the kingdom list have been occupied by people from Xingyao Kingdom, and very few people from the principality can successfully squeeze in. However, as soon as this Lin You appeared, he rushed directly into the top 10, and even reached the exaggerated level of 4th place. Not to mention her, I am afraid that the 6th order lords in the entire Xingyao Kingdom have fallen into an uproar. Out of curiosity, she immediately asked, "Dad, do you know where he is the lord? Why have I never heard of this person before?" "Of course you haven't heard of it." Jixinghe smiled kindly, "because he just arrived last month." "Last month? How is this possible?" Ji Yunshuang stretched out her hand to cover her jade lips, and the surprise in her eyes was instantly maximized. In a month's time, from just coming, directly rushing to the 1st place on the 6th order list? If it wasn't for what Jixinghe said, she would never believe it was true. Actually, I was also very surprised. I didn't expect such a talented lord to appear in our great wilderness, so I called you here to hear your opinion. Listen to my opinion? Yes, on the frontier battlefield recently, the Yuansha realm and the True Plains realm are getting more and more restless. I'm a little worried about you going in the past alone, so I want to find someone to replace you. If you're a girl, you should go less. It's better there. Jixinghe took Ji Yunshuang's hand into his hand and patted it lightly, with indescribable doting and worry in his eyes. Feeling his concern, the coldness on Ji Yunshuang's face gradually disappeared, and she said sadly, "I just don't want so many of my fellow clan to die." "You are just too kind. This will hurt you sooner or later, don't you know?" "I know, but I still want to do my best to fight for this world. I've seen too many people die in front of me," just like that time, if I were stronger, even if a little bit, mother, she won't. At the end, Ji Yunchuang's voice trembled. In the clear and beautiful eyes, there is deep regret and self-blame. This is an emotion she has never shown in front of others, and only when facing Ji Xinghe will she show her weakest side. Didn't you say don't mention it again? Ji Xinghe sighed softly, and there was a trace of sadness in his eyes. He stretched out his hand and gently wiped the tears from the corner of Ji Yunchuang's eyes. And that incident, I can't blame you, your mother must think so too. But... Ji Yunchuang raised her head and wanted to say something else. But seeing Ji Xinghe's doting gaze, he swallowed the words again. That's right. Ji Xinghe smiled slightly. Let's not talk about this, let's talk about the list. I just sent someone to call the person responsible for recruiting new lords last month. They should be there soon, said that Chow will arrive. Just as Ji Xinghe's voice just fell, a loud shout suddenly came from outside the hall. Lord Luoyun City, MOA asks to see you. Come in. Ji Xinghe's majestic voice echoed in the hall. Then, a rickety old man walked in cautiously with his head lowered. Seeing this, Ji Yunchuang also got up and stood beside the throne, regaining the cold face of the past. Meet the king. MOA bowed deeply to Ji Xinghe. Exemption. Ji Xinghe said lightly. His eyes were deep, he looked at MOA, and then asked, I went to the subplane to recruit a new lord last month. Is it your responsibility? Back to the king, it is the subordinate. MOA trembled all over. He was only a 7th-ranked man, and he didn't even dare to look up and look at Ji Xinghe, and at the same time he was extremely panicked. Because he didn't know why the king suddenly summoned a small person like him. After all, the work of recruiting new lords was always entrusted to them, the 7th-order lords. Recommendation: Mimi reading and chasing books is really easy to use, download it here and you can try it. Even if someone intervenes, it is only the 8th-order lord above him. Who would have thought that one day he would be summoned by the king? Moreover, it had been a month since he recruited the lord, and he suddenly said that he wanted to summon him, which made him feel a little flustered, thinking that something major had happened. But what he didn't expect was... As soon as he straightened up, Ji Xinghe's kind voice immediately came, Don't be restrained, I called you just to ask something. As for the recruitment of new lords last month, you should be in charge, right? Yes, it is the responsibility of the subordinates. MOA replied respectfully. Then do you have the impression that you once recruited a plant lord? He also assigned a small town on the border of the principality to him? As the king, Ji Xinghe knew the basic information of all the territories in the duchy. As long as he is willing, it is easy to find out which lord is in the city. MOA didn't expect Ji Xinghe to suddenly ask this, he was startled and started to try to recall it. It seems, there was indeed one. At that time, because the rating was very low, it was only F grade. I saw that no principality wanted him, so I recruited him into the great wilderness country. Could it be that he did something harmful to the principality? For Lin You, MOA still has a very deep memory. One is because Lin You is very polite, and the other is because Lin You is one of the F-rank lords he recruited, and he is also the only plant in it, so I remember it clearly. Now when he suddenly heard Ji Xinghe ask, he was completely stunned. Could it be that the young man did something that harmed the interests of the principality, and made the king Xingshi come to ask his guilt? Thinking of this, MOA instantly burst into a cold sweat, and he didn't dare to let out the air. Could it be that the momentary kindness of his own was going to harm himself? But what he never expected was... Facing his answer, Ji Xinghe was not only not angry www.lightnovel.com but asked with great interest, Then do you remember his name? MOA didn't dare to hide it, and quickly replied, It seems to be called Lin You? It's been too long, and my subordinates can't remember it. I also ask the king to forgive me. Forgiveness? What's your sin? It's too late for me to reward you, what? MOA was even more confused now. Finally, he couldn't help raising his head and looked at Ji Xinghe with a puzzled face. He found that not only did Ji Xinghe show no signs of anger, but there was a slight smile on his face. It doesn't look like a teacher asking for guilt at all. Could it be that? Is it because of that young man? MOA was puzzled, but he didn't dare to ask more. At this moment, Ji Xinghe's voice sounded again. I called you here this time, in fact, to reward you for your merit in recruiting a valuable talent for the principality, and I heard from you just now that Lin You was recruited by you because of his low rating and was rejected by other principalities? Yes, yes. MOA nodded. So there is such a thing? Ji Xinghe thought with a look on his face, and was a little surprised. I didn't expect people from other principalities to be so insufferable, that even such excellent talents would be handed over to others, and as a result, they were cheapened by them. This MOA really made a great contribution. After thinking about it, he said, you may not know that the Lord of the Plant System you recruited has now ranked first in the Principality's 6th order list. It is a great achievement for the Principality, let's just say. What reward do you want? Oh ah? MOA was completely stunned, and he didn't realize what was going on for a while. When MOA came out of the palace, the whole person was still in a state of confusion. The young lord that he recruited because of his temporary kindness turned out to be the 6th rank first person in the Great Wilderness Principality? Even now, he feels that everything is so unreal. It was as if God had played a big joke on him. But at this time, the resource orb he was holding in his hand reminded him all the time that all this was true. While he was stunned, he felt extremely shocked at the same time. It turned out that this morning's uproarious change in the list was made by the young man who was the least optimistic about him, and who couldn't even remember his name. This is too unbelievable. In less than 2 months, he reached the top of the Principality's 6th rank list, and even squeezed into the top 10 of the kingdom's list. What that meant, Morve knew very well. He can even say with certainty that as long as Lin You does not die in the middle, he will definitely have a great chance to grow into a 9th order lord in the future. That's level 9. Even if he saw it, he had to be respectful. Just being dug out from the crowd and recruited into the principality by him, he had to admire his unique vision. At the same time, he also began to pay attention to the news about Lin You secretly. For these, Lin You naturally didn't know it. At this time, he was staying in the territory, testing the new skills of the pea shooter's advanced form. Come on, aim and shoot at those iron ore. Under the tree of life, Lin You directed the red and blue pea shooters overhead to shoot iron ore in the distance. As his voice fell, the pea shooter hanging on the tree of life opened his mouth and shot continuously, shooting red and blue peas at the iron ore. The red one contained the aura of flames. After encountering the iron ore, it immediately exploded with a bang, bursting the iron ore and igniting a large flame. The blue one contains the aura of ice, and the moment it penetrates the iron ore, a frosty aura suddenly erupts, freezing the iron ore, and then shattering it into ice slag. The 2 types of peas are surprisingly powerful and have their own special effects. This is the brand new ability that Pea Archer realizes after he reaches the 7th rank. Name, Flame Shooter. Race, Plant. Level 7, 0/2500. Strength, 865. Physique, 741. Agility, 50. Spirit, 882. Skills, Infinite Proliferation, Pea Shooting, Pea Filling. Flame Transformation absorbs the breath of fire, making the shot peas with fire attribute attacks, which can burn the enemy. Introduction, a mutated pea with good long-range strike ability, and it is also one of the very few plants that is close to flames. Name, Frost Archer. Race, Plant. Level 7, 0/2500. Strength, 862. Physique, 739. Agility, 50. Spirit, 885. Skills, Infinite Proliferation, Pea Shooting, Pea Filling, Ice Transformation, absorbs the breath of ice, making the shot peas with ice attribute freezing attack, which can freeze the enemy. Introduction, a mutated pea with good long-range strike ability, and it is also one of the few plants that is close to frost. These two. These are the two forms of the pea shooter after the advanced. Fire and frost, one continuous damage and one penetration control, have greatly improved these two arms. Don't think they only have 50 points of agility. But it can wrap its rhizomes around other plants, such as the demon king dragon and the demon concubine dragon, and it becomes a high-altitude fort with great deterrence. In other words, the best app for reading aloud and listening to books at present, Mimi Read, install the latest version. This is also the combination of arms that Lin You just studied. The same principle as the explosive mushroom high-altitude missile, and there is no need to worry about falling. Even, he can wrap the pea shooter around himself and use it as a pistol, which is a good choice. Okay, it's good, let's stop. Seeing that the iron ore was about to be smashed by the pea shooter, Lin You quickly stopped them and let them continue to hide on the tree of life. Then, the lantern grass floating in the air lit up with a soft light, restoring them to the loss just now. The 7th order lantern grass, still adhering to its auxiliary ability, realized a new auxiliary skill. Vacuum, pump out all the air and create a vacuum environment around it. Okay. In fact, Lin You still doesn't know how to use this skill for the time being. Use it to keep food fresh, and he doesn't need to store food. Use it to suffocate the enemy in battle, and it seems that there is no need to make such trouble. And he didn't plan to take the lantern grass out to fight, just regarded it as lighting and logistical treatment in the territory. Forget it. I'll talk about it later when I think about its role. Anyway, group healing and sound receiving skills are also very useful now. After thinking about it, Lin You looked at the cactus warrior beside him. Or should it be called Cactus Boxer? Name, Cactus Boxer. Race, Plant. Level 7, 0/2500. Strength, 775. Physique, 890. Agility, 890. Spirit, 745. Skills, Infinite Proliferation, Rotating Flying Needle, Sting Ball, Punching Combo, punches the enemy at a very fast speed, and stabs the spikes into the enemy's body, causing secondary damage. Introduction, plants that grow in hot areas have strong survivability, strong penetrating power with spikes on their bodies, and comprehend fighting techniques in harsh environments. The 7th order cactus has only one advanced branch. But it is a rare plant under Lin Yu's hands that can use fighting techniques. And after testing, he also found that Cactus Boxer even has a very sensitive dodge awareness, which can effectively avoid oncoming fatal damage. Just like a real boxer. And it can be far or near, and it is perfect for assisting the ancient tree of war to play the forward side. You can even fight guerrillas, making the enemy hard to guard against. In general, after these plants rose to the 7th rank, their strengths had made a qualitative leap, and they were almost the same as when they were at the 6th rank. Next, only the actual combat effect is left. After closing the attribute interface, Lin You left the territory with the enchanting scroll he just made. Today, there are a lot of magic powder in the resources that Meng Qinggan and Zhao Ting sent him. So he raised the magic tower to tier 6, made a few basic enchantments of tier 6, and prepared to take it to the smithy and put it out to see the market. As for the price, of course it should be a little more expensive. After all, the 6th order is not like the 4th order, which can be seen everywhere. Dear Lord, due to your excellent performance, you have obtained the King's Charter to unlock the Frontier Battlefield teleportation permission in advance. This permission is automatically unlocked 3 months after the arrival of the new Lord. After the permission is unlocked, the Lord can freely teleport to the Frontier Battlefield, join the battle with the surrounding border area, and obtain various resources. Suddenly, several prompts sounded, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. He stopped, a puzzled look on his face. Frontier Battlefield? What? How has he never heard of it? And just when he was inexplicable, a dazzling white light suddenly lit up in the territory. A teleportation formation, shrouded in light, appeared on the open space of his territory. If you're enjoying my content, please consider donating a coffee. Or checking out my shirts on TeePublic. The sudden change disrupted Lin Yu's plans. He took back the footsteps he had just stepped out of the territory, and quickly came to the teleportation array, looking at it in amazement. The teleportation array is not large and can only accommodate 2 or 3 people entering at the same time. Vaguely, there were also bursts of sucking and pulling, as if to people in. This is what the prompt said, the teleportation array leading to that frontier battlefield? Lin You was surprised. According to the meaning of the prompts just now, this teleportation formation should only appear 3 months after the Lord's arrival, but he, because of his excellent strength, unlocked this function in advance. Is it because this frontier battlefield has any rigid requirements for strength? More and more doubts emerged in Lin Yu's heart. But since the prompt says that it can be sent freely and that there are precious resources to be obtained, then he naturally wants to go over and take a look. After thinking about it, he immediately called Ling and more than 300 other 7th-order plants, and slowly walked into the teleportation array. Do you want to send the frontier battlefield? Note that in the frontier battlefield, you will encounter the lords of the primitive continent and other continents. Please be careful. Send. Lin You took a deep breath and replied. The next second, with a flash of white light, he instantly disappeared into the teleportation array, and at the same time a sense of weightlessness struck. When he stood still again, he appeared on an incomparably wide Western-style square. In an instant, a heat wave hits my face. The crowd was surging and it was very lively, and there were continuous bursts of noise and shouting. In the sky, there is even a group of knights riding flying horses, passing by from time to time. The whole square resonated with crisp and loud bells. Here is. Lin You stared blankly around. I saw that in the entire square, in addition to him, there were countless lords and cultivators who came and went. Everyone was wearing different styles of weapons and equipment, talking and laughing. Around the square, there are magnificent buildings of various styles, echoing with a huge angel statue in the center of the square. If you look far away, you can also see a towering palace. With the palace as the center, an unimaginably large magic circle floated in the air, completely covering the entire city below. To tell the truth, recently I have been using Mimi to read and read books to keep up with updates, switch sources, and read aloud tones, which can be used by Android and Apple. This is clearly a huge magic city. At this moment, several prompts sounded one after another. Dear Lord, welcome to the main city of Holy Light, Angel Wings. In the main city of Angel Wings, you will not be attacked, nor can you attack other lords and citizens. Note that once you leave the main city, you will lose the protection of the rules and become attackable. Because you are arriving at the frontier battlefield for the first time, you are binding the soul medium with the main city. During the speech, the angel statue in the center of the square suddenly flashed a ray of light and quickly submerged into Lin Yu's body. Lin Yu only felt that his body was wrapped in a warmth, and then he had some kind of wonderful connection with this main city, just like the connection between him and the Tree of Life. And even more amazing. He is clearly standing in this main city, but he can clearly perceive the existence of all the arms in the territory through the connection. Then, another prompt sounded. The soul medium is successfully bound. In the frontier battlefield, you can directly summon troops to fight without relying on the territory. Honor points are unlocked, the redemption function is turned on, the round-trip transfer function is turned on. The activation of a series of functions directly blinded Lin Yu. But what surprised him the most was the one about binding the soul medium. Can you directly summon troops to fight? In other words, he now has some functions of the core of the territory? Immediately, he sank his mind and tried to contact the Lingxi in the territory. Sure enough, in the next second, a ray of light flashed, and Lingxi appeared in front of him, flying around him constantly. Then, with a thought, Lingxi disappeared, turned into a ball of light and submerged into his body, returning to the territory again. Sure enough, Lin Yu was inexplicably surprised. He didn't expect it would be so convenient in this frontier battlefield. No wonder the surrounding lords did not see a few with troops, it turned out to be because they could be summoned at any time. And in the main city, it will be protected by rules, there is no way to attack others, it is simply an absolute safe area. This frontier battlefield is really not easy. Lin Yu's originally quiet heart couldn't help but agitate, and he was deeply attracted by the strange things around him. Exactly at this time, a white light shone around him. Several embarrassed figures suddenly appeared on the square, cursing in their mouths. Bah, it's really unlucky to meet the Seventh Order Lord, and waste a teleportation crystal in vain. I am even worse. I died several Seventh Order troops when I ran away. Fortunately, the teleportation was fast. That guy is surrounded by Seventh Order troops, and there are more troops than us. It's a blessing to be able to escape. That is, who would have thought that a Seventh Order would appear near that chaotic monster? Forget it, let's go to the task hall to hand in the task first. After so many troops died, we have to go back to the territory to repair it in the next few days. While cursing, the lords gradually disappeared on the street far from the square. Lin You looked surprised, carefully recalling their conversation just now. It seems to say that they encountered a hostile Seventh Order Lord on the battlefield outside, and they also lost a lot of arms. In other words, is it possible to encounter high-level lords here? This is a bit dangerous. It seems that we need to be more careful in the future, at least we have to inquire about the news first. After thinking about it, Lin You left the teleportation square and followed the crowd to one of the most prosperous streets, and the number of lords and residents on the side began to gradually increase. At a glance, on both sides of the wide street, there are rows of various shops, as well as small stalls and hawkers. Come on, take a look, the dorsal fin of the Sixth Order Megalodon can be used to make weapons, and it's cheap. Our store sells all kinds of magic potions. If you are interested, come and take a look. Bulk orders are accepted. Magic energy is urgently needed, so I'll take a piece of architectural blueprint, first come first served. Does anyone need a brother with a token of the beast line? Just got it, absolutely hot. The sound of hawking and shouting kept echoing in my ears, and the whole street looked very lively. Lin, you found that many of them were lords above the 6th rank and practitioners, and there were even a few above the 7th rank. And it seems that they all come from various kingdoms, or various empires. He couldn't help but sigh that the main city of Angel's Wings is really a magical place, which can allow so many lords from different places and different levels to live in harmony. And just when he kept looking around to understand the environment, a figure suddenly stopped in front of him. Brother, it should be your first time here, do you need a guide? Standing in front of Lin You was a fat man with a smile on his face who looked very shrewd. He was slightly older than Lin You. Lin You looked at him curiously, then looked around him, hesitant. You are talking to me? That's natural. Fatty grinned suddenly. I see my brother looking around, he must have just arrived here, right? Yes, any advice? There is no need for Lin You to hide it, because he looks like this, even an idiot can see that this is the first time he has come. After hearing his answer, Fatty's eyes suddenly lit up, and then he said, I don't dare to give advice, I'm just doing a job of leading the way and making some hard money. Brother, are you interested? It only needs 2,000. Magic energy, let you quickly understand here. After speaking, he even raised his eyebrows at Lin You, looking like a profiteer. Lin, you can feel that the other party is a 6th Order Lord just like himself. And 2,000 magic energy is not too expensive for him, and it saves him the time to inquire and around. After thinking about it, he nodded and said, okay, then you can tell me about the situation here. As he said that, he sent a trade invitation directly and transferred 2,000 mana to him. After receiving the magic energy, Fatty's eyes lit up. Haha, it's easy to talk, let me introduce myself first, my name is Zhu Jun, what should I call my brother? Lin You. Lin You said lightly. It turned out to be Brother Lin You, a good name. Zhu Jun praised, and the whole person became active, since the brothers can trust me, come with me, I will introduce you to the environment here while familiarizing you with it, the current situation in the main city. Well, lead the way. In this way, under the leadership of Zhu Jun, Lin Yu began to wander around the nearby streets. Everywhere he went, Zhu Jun stopped to give him an introduction. For example, exchanges that can conduct remote transactions, auction houses for auctioning precious items, and various shops, he will explain them one by one. Look there, the highest palace in the main city is the Emperor of the Vault of Heaven Empire, which was built by the Emperor of the Vault of Heaven to provide shelter for the lords who arrive here and to block the invasion of the lords of other realms. Zhu Jun's voice kept ringing in Lin Yu's ears, which made him a little surprised. He glanced at the towering palace in the distance and asked, curiously, "The Emperor of the Vault of Heaven Empire? Could it be that this is within the territory of the Vault of Heaven Empire?" "Yes." Zhu Jun turned his head. The Vault of Heaven Empire is just at the junction of the primordial realm and the primordial demon realm. Originally, there was an endless chaotic zone between the two realms at the beginning, but I don't know what it is. The reason is that the chaotic zone suddenly dissipated, and the two continents began to collide frequently. In order to prevent people from the Yuansha realm from invading our continent, the Emperor Tianqiong and the great emperors of several other surrounding empires joined forces to establish a main city here to fight the Yuansha realm. This is also the origin of the border battlefield. I see. Lin Yu suddenly realized, and at the same time was secretly startled. In this way, on the battlefield outside the main city, he will not only encounter lords of the 6th rank, but also may encounter lords of the 7th rank or above of the Yuansha realm, which is much more dangerous than he imagined. However, even in such a dangerous place, there are still so many lords teleported over to join the battlefield. Are they not afraid of death? Zhu Jun, who was on the side, seemed to see his doubts, and suddenly smiled. "Next, I will take you to the most popular place in our main city to have a look." The most popular place? Yes, that place is called the Mission Hall, which is specially used to issue various battlefield missions to lords and practitioners. It is also the place where honor points can be exchanged for items. As long as you can think of anything, you can use points to exchange it there. Everything? Yes, everything. Zhu Jun said with bright eyes, as long as you have enough points, even very rare units or architectural blueprints can be exchanged, and there is the foundation of the entire main city. This, Lin Yu was shocked when he heard it. He finally understands now why those lords knew that this place was so dangerous, but still sent over without hesitation. It was because of this. While he was thinking about it, Zhu Jun also took him to the outside of the most magnificent and lively huge building in the center of the street. The 4 characters Mission Hall hang high above the building. Underneath, it was even more crowded, and the river flowed endlessly. There are constantly lords and cultivators coming in and out, and it is even more lively than the surrounding area of the teleportation square. This is the Mission Hall, let's go, I'll show you inside. Zhu Jun didn't stop and walked directly into the hall. Lin Yu naturally followed closely and followed him through the entrance and into the hall where people came and went. Into the eye is a huge light curtain placed in the center of the hall. Various tasks are constantly flashing on it, and the honor points for completing the tasks are also marked at the back. However, before Lin Yu could see more, a large exclamation and commotion suddenly came from the side, attracting his attention. I saw in the corner of the hall, a young man in Chinese clothes was standing in a familiar beam of light, surrounded by a large group of people. On the beam of light, a string of information was displayed impressively. Name, Wei Yuanji, Sky Empire. Territory, Elemental System, Tier 6. Comprehensive Assessment of Strength, Grade A. Comprehensive score of the territory, 405. Is there a comprehensive assessment here? Lin Yu looked at the beam of light in surprise. Wasn't it the same as what he had seen on the Void platform before? And it seems to be more detailed than the one on the Void platform, and even has a score for the territory. But what surprised him the most was the evaluation of the young man in Chinese clothing. A grade, taller than anyone he's ever seen on the Void platform. As expected of a lord from the Empire, with this strength alone, I am afraid that countless lords of the same rank will be far behind. Sure enough, there is still a big gap between the lords in the principality and the empire. That is a place specially used to test the comprehensive assessment of the lord. 100 magic energy at a time, you can try it if you have time. Zhu Jun on the side explained in a timely manner. What kind of level is an A-level rating like him here? Lin You asked, curiously. It's almost above average. It's quite powerful. This level can at least rank in the top 100 in the kingdom, so you'd better be careful not to provoke such people, so as to avoid any trouble. Okay, thank you for reminding me. Lin You wrote it down silently. And his eyes were always staring at the beam of light in the distance. When he was on the void platform before, he only measured the lowest comprehensive evaluation, and it was inevitable that he would be laughed at. It's been so long now, and I don't know how much his evaluation has improved. If there is a chance in the future, I can take a test. Was thinking. Suddenly, a mocking voice sounded from the side. Yo, isn't this Zhu Jun? What? Another newcomer was deceived by you? A man wearing half armor and carrying a big axe appeared and walked towards them slowly. Seeing that man, Zhu Jun's face sank instantly beside Lin You. Pei Yushan, what are you doing? Zhu Jun growled angrily. At the same time, a trace of panic appeared in his eyes, and he glanced at Lin You subconsciously. What? You didn't open the mission hall, why can't I come? Accompanied by several companions, the tall man known as Pei Yushan came to them, his face full of arrogance and disdain. Even the few companions beside him had mocking expressions. Well. The legendary scoundrel got in the way and slapped the face with a fork, which actually happened to him, making Lin Yu's expression strange. But seeing Zhu Jun's blushing face, with a flustered expression in his anger, he couldn't help but be a little puzzled. Immediately afterwards, he found that Pei Yushan was looking at him and said arrogantly, Boy, you were deceived by him. The things he said were introduced in the newcomer's manual in the mission hall, and they only sold for 500 mana. Pei Yushan, don't talk nonsense. Zhu Jun shouted in anger. The loud voice immediately attracted the attention of others around him. After seeing Zhu Jun, many people showed a trace of disdain at the corners of their mouths, and even cast a gloating look at Lin You. Feeling their gaze, Lin You immediately understood. It turned out to be the case. But he didn't really mind. After all, Zhu Jun has done his best to come here. It can even be said that it is exhaustive. It is completely worth the 2,000 mana, which saves him the effort and time to inquire everywhere. Thinking of this, he replied, Thank you for reminding me, but I think it's worth the money. Now, let alone Zhu Jun's stunned expression. Even the others on the side looked at him like a fool, wondering if his head was kicked by a donkey. Brother Lin You, don't you blame me for lying to you? Zhu Jun said blankly. It can't be said that you are cheating or not, I will pay you to contribute, and the price will be clearly marked. Lin You said with a smile. Hearing his answer, Zhu Jun was shocked and couldn't believe it. He opened his mouth to say something. But in the end it turned into a solemn gratitude. Thank you. Obviously, he was grateful for Lin Yu's relief for him. By comparison, Pei Yushan's face was even more ugly. Originally, he wanted to make Zhu Jun embarrassed in front of everyone, to show off his prestige, but he didn't expect to meet a guy like Lin Yu who played cards unreasonably, and suddenly became angry. Humph. Shame on your face, you deserve to be deceived, let's go. After speaking, he took a deep look at Lin Yu and left the mission hall with a few companions, leaving the two standing in place. Seeing their gradually disappearing figures, Zhu Jun hesitated for a while, and said, Sorry, I got you involved in this dispute. No. Lin Yu shook his head. When everyone encounters difficulties, you, a lord, come to lead people, and you don't have a good time. Yes, it's really not very good. Zhu Jun said embarrassedly. Not long ago, my territory was washed away by the beast tide, and only the core of the territory and a few troops were left. It was not easy to go out hunting, so I had to come here first to earn some magic energy to recruit troops. That Pei Yushan, I had a conflict with me because of a mission. Seeing that I was down, he kept looking for opportunities to humiliate me. I didn't expect you to be involved. I'm really sorry. It turned out to be so. Lin You suddenly realized. He said that the other party is a dignified lord, how could he be reduced to such a level? He did not expect to encounter a beast tide. Looking at it like this, I'm afraid I'm lucky to have survived, and it's a bit too miserable. Lin You still admired it very much. After thinking about it for a while, he said, if that's the case, then you can finally take me to see the point exchange that I just mentioned. After reading it, your introduction is over. Of course there's no problem, I'm sure you'll be satisfied. Zhu Jun immediately regained his energy when he heard the words, and grinned again. Then, under his leadership, Lin You quickly came to a few huge of light floating on the formation in the hall. Around each light ball, there are many lords who are exchanging things. According to Zhu Jun's introduction, Lin You sank his mind into one of the spheres of light. After a while, a row of classified lists appeared in front of him. Architectural drawings, arms, equipment, props, pharmacy, resources, miscellaneous. There are more than a dozen categories, which make people dazzled. Lin You glanced around, and directly clicked on the option of arms that he cared about most, and a large number of arms categories popped up at once. After selecting the plant category, rows of army tokens with green leaf logos came into view. Army token, Forest of Peach Demons. Army level, Tier 6. Introduction to the troops, a peach forest, composed of peach demons has a strong psychedelic effect. Required for redemption, 600,000 honor points, 60,000 magic energy. Army token, Calamity Demon Bamboo. Army level, Tier 6. Arms introduction, one of the installed arms, its hard appearance can be arbitrarily transformed into various weapon forms. Required for redemption, 600,000 honor points, 60,000 magic energy. Rare troops. Lin Yu's eyes widened instantly. Pull the interface down, and a whole page is full of rare units of the plant system. He was even still inside, seeing the arms tokens of Mu Yinglong and Dadi Yuanling. On the next few pages, there are all kinds of ordinary arms that he has mutated, and some ordinary arms that he has never seen before. They have everything. Lin You never imagined that such a precious and rare arms token could be exchanged directly, which made him both pleasantly surprised and excited. But right away, he saw the exchange demand underneath. 60,000 mana will not be mentioned for the time being. These 600,000 honor points are not like a small amount. After thinking about it, he looked back at Zhu Jun and asked about how to get honor points. Are you talking about points used for redemption? This is not easy to deal with. You have to go outside to hunt chaos monsters and lords of other realms. A 6th order monster 1 point, 6th order monster the lord will earn 10 points, which will be doubled every time you increase the level, or you will be rewarded with points when you do the tasks posted in the task hall, Zhu Jun explained skillfully. Little did he know that at this time, Lin You had already fallen into a moment of astonishment. Kill a 6th order lord to get 10 points? Doesn't that mean that he has to kill 60,000 to exchange for a rare weapon token? This is too exaggerated. In that case, did he still earn the 2 rare arms tokens he got in the area? The more he thought about it, the more fortunate Lin You became. Then he clicked on the various interfaces to take a look. Almost all of them were precious resources that he had never seen before, and even the blueprints of the teleportation array he wanted most were exchanged. Building name, Territory Teleportation Array. Architectural introduction, through the connection with the territory, it can be teleported back to the territory instantly, eliminating the consumption of magic energy by the transmission distance, and can carry troops. Required for redemption, 100,000 honor points, 50,000 magic energy. Fortunately, the points required to redeem the teleportation array blueprint are lower, at least more promising than the rare arms, not out of reach. Even in the resources category, he also saw a familiar thing, the Orb of Secondary Faith. Although it was weaker than what he saw on the battlefield of Myriad Realms at the beginning, he could only increase his belief by 100 points, but he still had to marvel at the power of the exchange of honor points. No wonder so many lords are not afraid of danger and gather here. I'm afraid it's just to earn points and exchange resources. Then, my task of leading the way ends here. If you need anything in the future, you can come to me. In the mission hall, Zhu Jun said to Lin You, who was in front of him. After the introduction just now, he had already explained all the information he knew to Lin You, and even some secrets that were not in the manual. He had fully disclosed it, which was not a loss for Lin Yu's magical energy. Are you going back to the territory? Lin You asked, casually. Well, I've earned a lot of magic energy, so it's time to go back and re-recruit troops. Zhu Jun returned to his heart like an arrow, always thinking about his territory. But before he left, he couldn't help but say, "Thank you, brother, for helping me clear the siege today. That guy Pei Yushan is notoriously careful. If you demolished his platform today, he might hold a grudge. Look for opportunities to stumble you, brother, you better be careful." From his point of view, Lin Yu was here for the first time today. He was obviously a lord who had just arrived for 3 months, and his strength was definitely not that strong. At most, there are only 20 or 30 7th-tier troops, which is still far worse than those old lords. Feeling guilty, he naturally couldn't help but remind him a few more words. "Don't worry, I will." Lin Yu didn't take it to heart. "That's good." Zhu Jun breathed a sigh of relief. "If that's the case, then I'll go first. I earned a lot of mana today, and it's almost time to go back to the territory. We have a chance to see you again." After speaking, he left directly, and disappeared outside the hall after a while, and Lin Yu quickly came to the center of the hall and looked it up on the task panel. The tasks on the task panel are very complicated, and there are all kinds of tasks, such as running errands, collecting materials, escorting, reconnaissance, sparring, etc. Basically, it is a task that other lords or lords spend their points to publish. The rewards are high and low, and some even give tens of thousands of exaggerated degrees. It's just that those quests have strict requirements on strength, and only lords above the 8th rank can be accepted. In desperation, he had to continue reading to find a suitable task. Look! The Empire has a new mission. Suddenly, other lords exclaimed from the side. Lin Yu stopped his movements, raised his head and looked at the light curtain above the hall. A mission marked Empire gradually came into his eyes. Mission, the origin of chaos. Requirement, follow the Imperial team to eliminate the 7th Order chaotic monsters that disturb the front line of the battlefield, and help to repel the monster leader. The 6th Order and above can be accepted. Mission difficulty, medium. Quest reward, 1,000 honor points. A full 1,000 points reward. And it just needs to clear the 7th Order monsters. How could Lin Yu let it go, and immediately took over this task with a quick eye and a quick hand. Failed to accept the mission, please go to the mission hall for strength verification first. Huh? What's the situation? Do you have to verify your strength before you can accept the mission? Lin Yu was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that there would be a failure to accept it. Zhu Jun probably forgot about it just now, and didn't mention it to him. I had no choice but to pull over a person next to me and asked, "Brother, how do I get the strength certification?" Strength certification? You only need to test the comprehensive assessment, and the system will automatically certify at that time. Okay, thank you. With gratitude, Lin Yu ran away in a hurry, and hurried to an empty test platform in the corner, staring at the man for a while. When he reacted, where was Lin Yu's figure in front of him? Alas, the current new lord, why is he so frizzy? He really hasn't suffered a loss. As he spoke, he shook his head, as if he had come over. However, just when he was about to withdraw his gaze and continue to consult the task, Yu Guang, however, happened to catch a glimpse of the information on the beam of light where Lin Yu was standing, and his eyes suddenly stared. Name, Lin Yu. Territory, Plant Department. Comprehensive Assessment of Strength, S level. Comprehensive Score of the Territory, 1024, S class. The man was completely shocked. His mouth was so open that he could almost stuff a goose egg. He rubbed his eyes vigorously, and glanced at the information that was dissipating on the beam of light. He was in a state of confusion. New lord? Why are you telling me that this is a new lord who doesn't even know the strength registration? As far as this assessment is concerned, if you tell him that he is a genius in the Empire, he will believe it. The man felt deceived and fell into deep shock at the same time. The comprehensive evaluation of S level, even if it is placed in the Empire, belongs to the top group. However, what shocked him even more was the comprehensive assessment of the territory below. Up to 1024 points. This assessment, even some 7th order lords, can't achieve it. For a 6th order lord to have such an exaggerated assessment, how terrifying the territory should be. Don't talk about him, even Lin You himself didn't expect his rating to be so high. I'm afraid it is inseparable from the dwarf tribe that has just relocated in his territory. After all, there are more than 1,000 craftsmen above the 6th rank, and there are also dwarf kings like McGunn in it. It is difficult to imagine how tall they are. So in order not to attract attention, the moment the system prompt sounded, he immediately left the beam of light and went outside. Congratulations, the strength verification is successful, and the task access permission is unlocked. After he stepped off the platform, the information on the light beam disappeared quickly, only 2 or 3 seconds before and after, and it was fleeting, and not many people noticed. And he also came to the center of the hall again to accept the mission just now. The mission is successfully accepted, please go to the teleportation square to report immediately. Fortunately, we caught up successfully. Without any hesitation, Lin You turned around and left the hall, rushing towards the teleportation square. From the beginning to the end, he didn't notice a pair of wide-eyed eyes on the side, staring at him all the time as if he had seen a ghost. Soon, Lin You followed the prompt and came to the teleportation square again. At this time, in the square, a team of Imperial soldiers had assembled. The leader was an 8th-tier lord, a middle-aged man who exuded an aura that no strangers should enter, and was also the chief soldier of the Empire stationed in the main city. On the side, there are also many lords who came to take the mission, gathered together to chat in a low voice. www.lightnovel.com. I heard that a large group of chaotic monsters of the 7th and 8th orders appeared this time, and they have surrounded the front line of the battlefield. So this task was released urgently. 8th order, I don't know if there will be any danger. Don't worry, there are soldiers here, and a lot of 7th order lords have been summoned this time. We only need to be responsible for blocking low-level monsters. That's good. These chaotic monsters are much more powerful than ordinary monsters. If you are not careful, you will die. There are also people from Yuansha realm. I don't know if they will come to make trouble this time. It's better to be careful. I also think that you can't take it too lightly. The conversation on the side was passed into Lin Yu's ears without fail, causing his expression to gradually become solemn. He had personally experienced the horror of 8th order monsters. Almost killed him. Moreover, it is said that this chaotic monster is stronger than ordinary monsters, and it may not be able to win the battle alone. In addition, the Yuansha realm may send lords to make trouble. There are too many unpredictable situations. This is also the reason why the Empire will issue a quest to summon people. Certainly. With a mission like this, it is naturally impossible to disturb a lord above the 9th rank. As for kings above the 10th rank, let alone. After all, as soon as you made a move, the other side also sent a 10th level 11th level lord, wouldn't the low-level lords under each of them suffer? Therefore, most of the time, the lords above the 10th rank play a restraining role and will not appear easily. Okay, let's go. With a loud shout from the soldiers, the team finally set off. The entire team is mighty, with a total of more than 1,000 people, more than half of them are lords from various countries, gathered together in 2s and 3s to chat. It seems to have become accustomed to this situation. Only a few new lords, including Lin You, kept looking around with an uneasy mood, for fear that an enemy would suddenly appear from the side. and at the front of the line. In addition to the captain in charge of leading the team, there was also a handsome young man accompanying him, riding a thunder beast surrounded by electric lights. The young man was obviously only at the 6th rank, but Lin You found out that the soldier commander was very respectful to him, and even meant to be in a lower position. The identity of this young man is probably not simple. Who is that person? Why is even the soldier commander so respectful to him? At this moment, a lord next to him asked Lin You the doubts in his heart. Brother, did you just come here? You don't even know Li, the 3rd prince of the Vault of Heaven Empire. That's the son of Emperor Tianqiong, not an ordinary lord like us can compare. It is said that in addition to leading the team to destroy monsters this time, the captain also has the task of protecting the 3rd prince. Damn. 8th tier guards? This is too extravagant. What can be done? Who gave birth to a good father? Not to mention the 8th rank, even if it is the 10th rank, there are quite a few under the Vault of Heaven Emperor, but I heard that the 3rd prince did not inherit the Emperor's angel-type arms, and was not liked by the Emperor, so he was sent here. Shoo! Be quiet, you're dying? The lords kept silent like birds of awe, for fear that their discussions would be overheard by the Imperial team ahead. Seeing this, Lin You, who was on the side, immediately fell into contemplation. Regarding the inheritance of territorial arms, he saw the lords discussing it on the channel before. The general meaning is that when 2 lords are combined, the child born will also be a lord, and will randomly inherit the type of arms of the father or mother, or mutate into other types of arms. Then start to nurture the soul from a young age. It is not until the soul is fully mature that they will awaken to the territory and gradually increase the level like them. And according to each person's aptitude and the degree of spiritual refinement, the age of awakening also varies. Some wake up at the age of 20, and some wake up at the age of 17 or 18. Lin You even heard that when myriad realms collapsed, those children and old people whose soul strength did not reach the awakening standard would be sent to another place. As for what kind of place, there is no way to know. Perhaps only when his strength reaches a certain height can he truly uncover the secrets behind this world. Attention everyone! Prepare to leave the city. At this moment, a loud shout from the captain of the soldier suddenly came from the front, interrupting Lin Yu's thoughts. He raised his head and saw that the team was slowly passing through the city gate surrounded by magic and coming out of the city. And the lords on the side also began to summon their respective armies one after another. For a moment, dazzled. Various types of troops appeared one after another, expanding the entire team several times at once. Immediately afterwards, a reminder sounded in Lin Yu's mind. Please note that you are now leaving the main city and will lose the protection of the rules. It turned out to be leaving the safe area. Lin Yu knew it in his heart, and immediately connected to the territory through the soul connection, and then the light flashed, and the petite Lingxi appeared beside him, flying back and forth in the air. After all, everyone is in the same faction now, and the 8th tier soldier leader is taking the lead, so there is no need to summon too many troops for the time being. A Lingxi is enough to deal with the accidents that may happen next. The same goes for other lords. Basically, he summoned his most powerful units and followed him around. Brother, you seem to be a plant-type flower monster, don't you? Isn't the flower monster good at healing and not good at attacking? At this time, a 6th order lord next to him noticed Lingxi beside Lin Yu, and couldn't help asking. Lin Yu turned his head, glanced at the 2 7th order griffins beside the man, and said with a smile, almost, but my troop has a little bit of attack, so it should be fine. Really? The man asked suspiciously. Units like Hua Yao are not uncommon. Many lords have seen them before and know that they are very good at healing. But when it comes to combat ability, it's a bit off the table. After all, the flower demon is so petite in size, and the only attack skill that can be used is the summoning tree demon. But no matter how powerful the tree demons are, they can't beat the serious arms after all. No wonder he had such doubts. When the other lords on the side saw Lingxi, they let out a few faint sneers. Compared with Lin Yu's troops, they immediately felt superior. Lin You ignored these people and continued to observe the surrounding environment. After leaving the main city, there is an endless battlefield, extending from outside the city to the end of the line of sight. I don't know how far it will extend. In the gray sky, there is a lot of gray breath, and two suns hang high above it, and the sun shines from time to time, making people feel a sultry feeling of suffocation. Indistinctly, I could smell a faint smell of blood in the air, as well as the smell of gunpowder smoke. Even on the surrounding ground, there are dead bones everywhere. There are monsters, and there are people. This is the frontline battlefield. The battlefield where the original continent and the original Sha continent collided. After the entire team left the main city and came outside, the captain of the soldiers at the front finally raised his great sword. Full speed ahead. In an instant, the team opened up and gradually accelerated towards the depths of the battlefield. And the lords in the team also received the signal and mounted their respective cavalry units to keep up with the team. Some rode snakes, some rode pigs, some rode cyclops or rode rock birds. In short, there are all kinds of strange things, everything. Just a mount can play flowers for the lords, shouting and running on the battlefield, showing the strength of their respective arms, all want to overwhelm other lords. The Griffin Lord next to him saw that Lin You was still standing there, and thought that he did not have such a troop that could be used as a mount. You read www.yuyukansha.com immediately shouted at him friendly, "Brother, if you don't mind, would you like to go over with my griffin? It can be seen that this is a warm-hearted lord." Lin You retracted his gaze and smiled at him, "No, I'll just go over with my troops." "Really? Then take care of yourself. The front line of the battlefield is hundreds of kilometers away. I'll go first." After speaking, the Griffin Lord mounted his own griffin troops and flew into the air with a whistling speed, which was a few points faster than the average 7th Order land troops. And his face gradually showed a hint of pride, and he lowered his head and looked down at a large area of running troops below. Roar! But at this moment, a dragon roar suddenly sounded behind him. The loud and high-pitched voice almost didn't frighten him to fall off the back of the griffin. The lords who had just run out with their troops were also shocked in their hearts and turned around one after another. Then he saw Lin You, who was standing in the same place, when a huge plant dragon appeared. With a wave of his wings, he took Lin You up into the sky in a terrifying gust of wind, as if the whole surrounding air was distorted. Dragon flying units. The lord below couldn't help exclaiming, his face full of shock. Not to mention that Griffin Lord, his eyes almost fell out of his eyes. The exaggerated size and the terrifying power far surpassed that of ordinary troops. You told him there was no mount to ride? Isn't this a joke? Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.